He is now part of Chat Sports' brand new NFL coverage. The channel is the Jets Report, and it's our guy, Mike Giarraputo, who joins us now. Mike, I know you're not just a Jet fan, you're also a Knicks fan, so you got to be feeling really good about the last 24 hours or so for our teams.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, Jake, first of all, thanks for having me on. It's always a blast to be here and talk about the Jets. But, man, the Knicks, they just seem like one of those teams that's actually destined to make the championship. I mean, we know it's just been so weird. Like, for my whole life, the Knicks and the Yankees, just teams I don't fully trust. Like, no matter how good we are, I never fully trust them. But this year, feeling a little bit different. Up 3-0, Brunson just seems... Everybody's better than Jalen Brunson until you have to play against Jalen Brunson. I mean, he's been an absolute monster in this series.
Unbelievable. And just, no OG, no problem. Guys step up. Mikal Bridges worth every pick if he's going to play as well as he played last night. Landry Shamet, 15 points off the bench. Just a gritty performance by the Knicks. They're one of the more mentally tough teams that I've rooted for, and I love them. I'm just hopefully they stay healthy. Let's close it out tomorrow, and they get a lot of rest, and hope that the Cleveland and Detroit series goes the distance. We'll see. And that certainly will pay up dividends for the Knicks. We'll talk more Knicks basketball later on in the show, but we'll start with the Breece news because it broke yesterday afternoon. Full disclosure, I was not expecting the Jets to get a deal done with Breece this quickly. I know that Darren Mougey said after the draft they were going to revisit conversations between Breece and the New York Jets, but the fact that they got this done on May 8th, and now there's no distraction with Breece, you have him signed, sealed, delivered. What was your initial reaction to Breece Hall getting a new deal?
It was holy bleep. I don't know if we're allowed to really cuss on this program here, but I was fired up. I mean, I think it was a great move for the Jets. I mean, in reality, you see 3 years, $45 million, but it's 2 years and $29 million guaranteed for Breece. So I thought it was an awesome deal for the Jets and Mougey to get done. I mean, we had talked about this a little bit before we went on air, but it's my reasoning for why I love this Breece deal. Well, first of all, I don't think we've seen the best of him. I mean, we just saw him rush for 1,000 yards for the very first time last season. We know he's a lot better of a player than that. Like, being Jets fans, there are so many guys that have come through here where you see the talent and you just know, like, I know he could be a lot better if the situation was better. The situation is getting better. We got the 2 starting outside tackles. The interior offensive line is a little shaky, but I like Tippmann, and Parham could be okay. Not a fan of Myers, but you just got to do everything in your power to surround your next quarterback, whether it's Cade Klubnik or somebody in 2027 with the most amount of talent possible. You have the money to do it. So I love this deal. I've been a Breece Hall fan since he's been drafted by the Jets here.
All you really need to know with any sort of football contract is, all right, well, how much of it is guaranteed? And when you look at it, it's around $29 million in guarantees. It's basically 2 years of the franchise tag. And you look at some of the other contracts that have been given out to running backs, that is exactly on par with what it should be. If you look at the contracts that you've seen guys like Kenneth Walker sign, and then, of course, you have the future contracts that are going to be potentially signed by Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson that will go for more than what Breece Hall is making from the Jets. So, again, I think it's just another example of Darren Mougey having a good feel for the market, being proactive and getting things done. And it's basically the opposite of what happened with Joe Douglas. Even like the rookie contracts was something that would drag on. Remember the offset language conversation with some of the Jet rookies in recent years? Well, I think Omar Cooper Jr. might be the only draft pick the Jets haven't signed at this point. Like, just, I don't know. I think Darren Mougey's got a real feel for what he's doing so far.
I think it's Cooper and maybe Darrell Jackson, unless I missed him signing in the past 12 hours. But I mean, Mougey, he seems like he actually has a pulse and like knows what he is doing with this Jets team. I feel like with Joe Douglas, when the fans defended him, it was like, well, look at the 2022 draft. But it was like, all right, what else you got for me? Like, we had to wait. I think it was like late July when Zach Wilson signed his rookie deal. And to have these guys really locked up, like, Mougey seems like a guy that's genuinely respected now around the league, as opposed to maybe to get a phone call from the Jets 2 years ago and you'd be like, hey guys, it's the Jets, let's rip these guys off. Or, nobody respects. We still haven't earned that respect around the league. I'm not saying the Jets are a well-respected team around the league, but it seems like for the first time in a long time, like, we have a GM who knows what he is doing, who has a legit plan that's easy for us to interpret.
Speaking of plans, now that we know that Breece is signed, your thoughts on how he fits and what Frank Reich and Geno Smith could potentially put forth in this offense?
Yeah, well, we know, I mean, Reich is an old school kind of guy. Like, I wasn't really too sure what to make about the hiring. I understand what Glenn wants to do, just kind of bring that experience into the room. Reich, I believe, is 64 years old, but I hope Breece is the guy that gets around 70 to 80% of the touches in this backfield. I don't know how big of a fan you are of guys like Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. I think Breece is just levels above those types of players. So like when I heard the arguments for, oh, we can replace Breece, we can easily replace Breece, it's like, well, that guy's not in the roster. And we're not sure if we're going to be able to draft that guy. So if Breece can, I would like us to be run centric in terms of the offense, take some pressure off of Geno Smith. Like I don't think we should be throwing the ball 38, 40 times a game. So I think Breece should be a 20 plus touch a game guy, especially if you're going to pay him like he is.
I think you're spot on. Like now that you paid Breece Hall, let's use him and have the best plan for him. He's in. We know that he's going to be a part of this thing for at least the next 2 years. And I agree with what you said about, you could just find another running back in, the mid rounds and they're all replaceable. They're really not. Like until Breece Hall came along, who was the Jets' best running back? You probably got to go all the way back to Chris Ivory. So they didn't draft anyone. They didn't sign anyone. And I like Braylon Allen's potential, but it's potential. He's coming off an injury and we just haven't seen it. I think Isaiah Davis is a nice third down scat type of back. But like to me, this should be the Breece show. And one thing Frank Reich did say earlier this week is that they want to run the ball. And he specifically mentioned Garrett and Breece as the two cornerstones of the offense. And now you have Breece signed. So, look, I think anything short of Breece Hall getting 75 to 80% of the touches, that's probably a misuse of his talent.
Yeah, I think he should just be the guy in this backfield. And, yeah, that was one thing. I was worrying about with this situation. The fact that we didn't sign anybody, we didn't draft anybody. We picked up 2 undrafted guys. But I'm like, guys, we're giving Breece more and more leverage as the time went on. That signing was pretty shocking to me yesterday. As you said, like I thought that was going to go on a lot longer. But yeah, Breece should be the guy in this offense. Like there's no reason he should not be getting at least 18 touches a game for this Jets team in 2026.
The Jake Asman Show is now presented by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is a daily fantasy app made simple. Just pick more or less on your favorite players' projections and build your lineup in seconds. Download the PrizePicks app today. Use code HMA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And PrizePicks is already offering NFL futures, including futures for New York Jets players. Take a look at the lineup that you see on the screen. Garrett Wilson, more than 4.5 reception touchdowns. David Bailey, he's going to have at least 7 sacks his rookie year. Arvell Reese, almost a Jet. I think he'll have at least 3 sacks in his rookie year with the Giants. That is a 3-pick power play, $10 to pay out $60. That is just an example of some of the lineups you can make over at PrizePicks. Make your own lineups today for any sport. Just download the PrizePicks app, use the code HMA, and get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Super chat from Derek, the Kansas Jet fan. He says, so happy we re-signed Breece. Amen, Derek. I'm at a Renaissance festival in Omaha, Nebraska with some friends today. Just want to wish everyone a wonderful day. Let's go Jets, baby. Oh, yeah. Well, have fun at that Renaissance festival, Derek. If you could call in from that, I'm sure many of us would enjoy seeing what exactly that looks like. But, Derek, this is for you. Mike, you ever been to a Renaissance festival?
I can't say that I have, Jake. It's an interesting Saturday for Derek there.
I love that. Shout out to Sean Horton, who just gifted a channel membership. Sean's membership went to listener Dan Philcox. Dan, you are a channel member. Sean, good job out of you. Appreciate you.
Good job.
Comments, questions, super chats. They cut the line. I'm just going to show you a graphic, and I'm going to ask you, Mike, to remove Jets from the graphic and just look at the players. Is this not the makings of a solid offense? Am I crazy?
You know, if I put my thumb on the middle of my screen there and I just block out Geno, yeah, that looks pretty good to me. I mean, look, I don't know what Geno Smith is going to be. We know he had the down year. His situation, though, as we could see on the screen here, is so much better than it was last year with Vegas. He got a top 10 running back in Breece Hall. Honestly, the receiving core, I don't know if you saw an article from ESPN the other day. It said receiver is the biggest need for the Jets heading into 2026. I thought that was absolutely ridiculous. Garrett Wilson's a 1 in this league. Cooper, I wonder how we're going to use him. I mean, he played mainly in the slot at Indiana, but I think we're going to move him around a little bit more. This is a legitimate offense, and honestly, with the pick of Sadiq, you went from probably a bottom 8 to 10 tight end room in football to now having easily a top 10 tight end room in all of the NFL. Fashanu, Membu, you have your 2 starting outside tackles. I wish Tippmann was playing center, but like this is when you look at this and you're a quarterback next year, like walking into this situation, I know everybody's just going to be like, well, it's the Jets and they'll screw it up. They'll find a way. But this, just on paper, you said remove Jets. This looks like a pretty damn talented offense to me, Jake.
Look, I mean, obviously guys need to stay healthy. We understand that. That's for every team. But if Geno Smith has time to throw, I don't think he's horrific. I don't think he's as bad as how it looked with the Raiders at times. I think Geno Smith can still be a competent passer in this league. And I think the Jets offensive line is among the better offensive lines in the NFL. I don't think that's crazy to say. You're expecting another leap from both your tackles. Tippmann, we know how solid he is. And I do think when you look at the weapons they put around Geno, it's such a better situation than anything he had last year. I don't think you're crazy at all for feeling that way.
No, yeah, I kind of wish we had addressed guard maybe a little earlier in the draft or a little bit more in free agency. Like, I'm not a fan of the fact that Josh Myers is going to be the starting center for this team week one. I do think the offensive line is definitely top half of the league. Probably will sneak into the top 10 this year. But Membu, I mean, I think he's going to be an all-pro at some point in his career. And Fashanu has been good, getting better. Like, the fact that we have our two starting outside tackles like set for the next 10 years, barring injury or anything else, is something that I never thought I'd be saying about any Jets team in my lifetime. So yeah, no, I think this offensive line could be one of the better units in the NFL next year. And if you give Geno some time to throw, I mean, that Raiders offensive line was historically bad last year. Like, we think we've seen bad offensive lines as Jets fans, but they're all like, they made Ashton Genty look like a horrific draft pick. Well, it still might be, who knows? But like, Genty is better than he showed. That Geno is better than he showed. I'm not saying Geno is going to be a top even 15 quarterback, but can he be a steady hand as that guy? I think that's very possible. And the Jets offense can let's at least be fun. Can we at least be fun to watch on offense? Like, that's what I'm hoping for. That's what I thought was going to happen after week one last season. I'm like, all right, well, maybe the defense sucks and the offense is going to be fun. This might not be too bad of a season. I was wrong about that, but hopefully just the offense, we could see some legitimate improvement this season. I think we will. You
mentioned Sadiq. How they use him, I think, is such a fascinating thing to watch all year long, because when you take a tight end that high, you got to have a real plan for that player. And obviously Frank Reich was pumped when the Jets drafted him. You have the clip of Woody Johnson handing Frank Reich the phone, being like, "Are you a happy guy?" And the only cringe Woody way possible.
"Are you a happy guy?"
Oh my goodness, let's go.
So, like, how they use Sadiq, I think that's one of the bigger offensive storylines this year. Apparently, he had a couple nice catches against Air today at Jets rookie minicamp. I saw.
Oh well, he's going to be a Hall of Famer, as we know. Like, you see some clips from rookie minicamp. You know, this guy's going to the Hall. But yeah, no, it's going to be really fascinating. I mean, I was surprised by the pick, but not really in a bad way. Like, this is how good football teams draft. Like, hey, we don't absolutely need a tight end. We think this guy is the best player on our board right now. We think he can add a different level to our offense. We're going to see a lot more 12 personnel this season, I would assume, with him and Mason Taylor. But yeah, I can't wait to see what he can do. And you look at, it's kind of tough to judge a guy like him because he only had about, I think it was 560 yards last season for Oregon. So if you're drafting a tight end that high, you want him to be like the guy in his offense. But Oregon just had so much to go around. So like, I don't think that's really an indictment against him. I mean, he's an absolute freak, and he's only 20 years old. Like, this guy is just going to get, I think, better and better and better for the Jets. Like, I really warmed up to the pick the following days right after the draft.
This one is from Jay Quest, who says, "Where are all those people who called in saying Breece didn't want to be here? He's going to explode next year with a real OC. Jets, Jets, Jets."
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've said it from the beginning. Oh, Breece doesn't want to be. I think Breece wants to win, and he wants to be paid. What happened?
Yep.
Well, they paid him, and I think he'll now buy in, and he probably sees some of the talent. He's going to watch Geno in practice and be like, wow, this guy's not terrible. He's a real quarterback, unlike Justin Fields, who can't play. So I never bought that, Breece doesn't want to be here. Like, I think losing sucks, and when you go through it, you're miserable, and you're probably down, and you're pouty, and it's not a fun place to go to work. But I don't think that Breece Hall couldn't stand being a Jet. I never bought into that from the beginning.
Yeah, the thing with that, I always think about, like, these guys that were really, really good as players, like, their whole lives. Like, they were winning in Pee Wee football. They were winning in middle school. They were winning in high school. They were winning in college. And then you get to the Jets, and it's a totally different thing. Like, they have to adjust to that. Like, just losing all the time. He and Garrett, they just have different ways of dealing with it. I mean, Garrett's going to almost like Jeter it. Like, he'll always say the right thing. He'll never really give us a real headline. Like he'll be disappointed. He'll let us know that he's disappointed. Breece, sometimes a little different. Sometimes he takes to Twitter, but like I was never like, wow, this guy's a diva. He doesn't want to be here. Let's get him out of here. Like it was clear that the Jets always wanted him. He just wants to win football games.
Right.
Like I'm okay with him showing some frustration. Like that's fine because I'm frustrated. We're frustrated as fans, aren't we? Like I'm okay with him showing a little bit of emotion. Like how would you feel if you had, like, let's just say you had a horrible show and then 5 minutes later, it's like, Jake, that was your 6th bad show in a row. How do you feel about it? Like you want to talk? Like it's just like we have to give these guys a little bit of a break.
And every year you're told it's going to be better, and
exactly.
you go into the optimistic, and it somehow gets worse. like no matter how anyone thought about like the Jets' decision to move on from Rodgers and go with Fields, like no one thought they were going to start 0-7 and be the worst team in football. Like
no.
even if like I never wanted Aaron Glenn from the beginning because I didn't want a first-time head coach in this spot, but I didn't imagine it was going to look like that in year one. Like no one could have thought it was going to be as bad as it was.
Can I ask you, because I know you're a huge fan of Aaron Glenn. What is there any kind of like what is your best case scenario for this season? Because I've seen a lot of like, well, the Jets are going to mess this up. We have 3 first-rounders. What if the Jets win 7 games? We end up picking 12th. We keep Glenn, and then we're not even able to get one of these top quarterbacks. Like, what do you think the ceiling is with this Jets team next year? And how do you feel about Aaron Glenn like heading into this with like I guess 4 months to think on it? I guess I'm not a huge fan of him either.
Well, after Glenn showed up to our draft party in Pittsburgh and we hashed things out, definitely fully on board with his plan now. I mean, look, here's the thing. I think we all want this coach to prove us wrong and be the guy. We're Jet fans at the end of the day. I just am done giving this franchise the benefit of the doubt until I have evidence that what they're doing is actually working. Whereas with Darren Mougey, I could point to a track record so far of moves that have worked out, things that made sense, things I've heard from people that know Mougey or know his thought process on certain things that I've been able to speak to this offseason at various things I've covered with this show. So like that's kind of how I look at it with Glenn. Like, all right, you're here. You got to change your entire coaching staff. You got to add players that you specifically wanted for your scheme. You're the one who said play calling is your superpower, right? These are things that you have said. Now let's go see it. Like you got to hire Frank Reich. You brought in Gino, clearly an upgrade over Justin Fields. Like there's no reason for you not to show that you're a competent head coach. And if he can't do that, he's not going to be here. Like he's got to win, I think, at least bare minimum 7, probably closer to 8. And how they start the year matters more than even what the overall record ends up being. They can't be close to 0-7. They have to probably be 2-2, 3-3, or 3-4 through their first 6 or 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, my problem with keeping Glenn, and I don't think they 100% absolutely needed to fire him. I mean, I would have. I mean, he really just didn't show much as a head coach. I know the roster was bad. It was bad, but as you mentioned, like about 5 minutes ago, no one was expecting us to be 0-7 last season. Like everybody looks back on it right now in May and says, well, they were the Jets. They were tanking last year. No, we weren't.
Nope.
We were not supposed to tank last year. We were supposed to be somewhat competitive. It was supposed to be a season like this, right? It was supposed to be like, hey, let's go out there and show something. Let's show we're at least a fun, legitimate team that can challenge anybody in the league. Let's win 7, 8 games. That was supposed to be last season. And everybody like points to like, well, the roster wasn't like he had Sauce, he had Quinnen at the beginning of the year, and the defense was atrocious. He gave up what he claims to be his superpower. Said, here you go, Steve Wilkes. Like could you imagine if the Bears had hired Ben Johnson and he said, all right, I'm actually not going to call the plays. I'm going to hire somebody to do it. That guy has a historically bad offense, and then he fires that guy in week 14. Like he would not be there the following season. Like it's a rare. There are examples of one and dones that do end up working out for the team. Look at the Patriots. They moved on from Gerard Mayo and they made the Super Bowl. I mean, their head coach right now might be in some high water, but that's
I'm glad they would trade coaches.
I think I would too.
Yeah,
I think I would too.
Well, to your point on the one and done, Mike, 8 of the last 10 coaches that were one and done, their replacement made the playoffs. That was my argument for moving on from Glenn. It's like this idea that, it sets you back. No, it doesn't. It not even get the right guy. We overcomplicate football. Coach and quarterback. If you get the right coach, you can almost a lot of times cover for not having the best of quarterbacks. And there's plenty of examples of that around the league. So we'll see. I think they're now set up to potentially attract the top coach or one of the top coaches a year from now if it doesn't work out with Aaron Glenn. And they're set up with the 3 ones to get a quarterback in a much better, we hope, quarterback class next year.
I really hope you're right about that. I think it's going to be, but man, I mean, this time last year we were probably talking about Well, this next year's quarterback class is going to be Drew Aller, Lenora Sellers, Arch Manning, like we're Garrett Nussmeier, Cade Klubnik. Like we're naming all these guys that we think are going to be first rounders. I hope it works out that way. Like there are some really talented quarterbacks in college football this season, this upcoming season. So, I mean, I think about a coach. I don't want to already talk about coaching replacements, but I think about a guy like Nate Scheelhaus from the Rams. Like that's something that, I mean, I'm looking maybe a little bit too far ahead, but hopefully we don't even have to hire a new head coach. But
Davis Webb's my guy because of the Mougey tie-in from Denver.
Yeah, and we'll get to see him call some plays this year in Denver. Like that would be, if he proves it, if that offense improves. I know like under Sean Payton, it got a little stale over there in Denver. Really good football team, but not really the most fun offense to watch, not really the most efficient offense to watch. But yeah, there'll be some names, hopefully that we don't need to track come this time next year, maybe in January.
Let me pause briefly to shout out Jay Reeves. This is three siblings Jay. So Jay's afraid to call in, but he loves to run his mouth in the chat. Right. So we call this Jay syndrome. It's when the lights are too bright and you can't call into a Jet talk show. So he says, Jake, football is complicated. That's what you don't understand. This is coming from a guy who tried to tell me that Mike Vrabel is mid. So thank you, Jay. Yeah, the Jets should not want anything to do with Mike Vrabel a year ago. We need to hire Aaron Glenn instead. Thank you very much. Three siblings, Jay. You are spot on, as always.
Jake, you don't know a damn thing about football, man. You don't know.
Great job. Thing. Three siblings, Jay. One of the best.
Hey, here's the deal. Just got no chance unless you click on that like button. And you got to make sure you subscribe to the Jake Asman Show. You don't, you can get the f*** out. Now let's go, Asmaniacs. We're built for this shit.